I couldn't be more thrilled that you have joined us for the first ever Extreme Shelter Makeover. If you are a fan of home fixer-upper shows, tonight is definitely your night. But for everyone who's joining us, this Extreme Makeover Shelter Edition is about a timeless truth that has both challenges and great opportunities. We are the product of our environment. Our surroundings can have a profound impact on our brain and our emotions. And that's especially true when we enter into a space carrying a lot of stress or trauma. I want to start with one quick story about a place that I often experience great stress, and that's the dentist. Show of hands, who gets stressed out by going to the dentist? Anyone else? Good, not just me. It's made me anxious ever since I was a kid, and I had to get my wisdom teeth taken out, actually at a pretty young age. And I suspect that if I had that same procedure done today, the dentist would most likely have sedated me, put me under. But instead, I got local anesthetic, and I vividly remember the dentist prying out my wisdom teeth, all the while commenting on what deep roots I had for a kid. Even now, I get anxious thinking about it. My body tenses up, my jaw tightens, my face winces at the memory. And so imagine me walking through the doors of a brand new dentist about a year ago. It was my post-COVID checkup, and I delayed my regular cleaning for well over a year. And so I was feeling anxious. I had that knot in the pit of my stomach. But then I walked into this new dentist's office, and at first I couldn't tell if I had just accidentally walked into the neighborhood spa. I heard this calming nature music with running water and chirping birds. I breathed in the smell of eucalyptus from a diffuser sitting at the reception counter. There were plants hanging from the ceiling, natural light streaming through the windows, and the color of the walls was bright and energetic, yet soothing. A few minutes later, I was escorted into the exam room, and I immediately noticed art with nature scenes on the wall and a plush chair with soft pillows in the corner. The dental assistant came to put one of those bibs around me, and instead of it being that clinical white, it was the color of lavender. And she had infused it with lavender essential oil. And so the entire time I was lying there, I was breathing in that scent of soothing lavender, and I felt immediately calmed. It didn't take much. A diffuser, 10 cents worth of essential oils, plants, art, a strategic color choice away from that clinical white to a calming lavender. Well, that's the difference that surroundings can make. Now, think about my level of anxiety walking into that dentist office and multiply it by 100 at least. That is the stress and trauma and anxiety of parents and kids who walk into Door of Hope. Those first few weeks after losing their housing, they may have relied on favors from friends or a distant family member, camping out in living rooms, sleeping on the floor. But when they outstayed their welcome there, they slept in their car. Knowing that wasn't safe, they tried a homeless shelter where they were only allowed to stay for 30 days. And every night they had to pack up their stuff and return, hoping to secure a spot the next day. The walls were sterile, the rows of bunk beds were creaky, the neon lights were abrasive, and mom barely slept a wink because she was frightened to have her kids sleeping in the same warehouse room as strangers. Well, that's the pain and trauma of homelessness. Let's take a listen.
I was probably about 5 or maybe about 4, just living in a van, and my mom getting a bag from the store or something of that nature, and me having to use the bathroom in there. And that was actually the first time that I think I experienced homelessness. And from then on, I vibes started bouncing from home to home.
I had no tent. I'm sleeping on a bench with my daughter, trying not to really, go to sleep and holding on to her tight as I can. But then there's ants all over you. And then you have to go to the bathroom, but everything's closed now. Where are you going to go to the bathroom at? It was a lot of sleepless night. I was just riding around on a bus or the train for hours, but just to have to hold her so tight and not to fall asleep until the sun comes up, or but I still went to work and sleep on my lunch breaks and things like that.
I was now homeless. I was unemployed. I had no emergency savings. I had no higher education. I had nothing. Fast forward a few weeks later, after sleeping on floors, sleeping on couches, strangers' couches, crying, going out all day with an infant and my 4-year-old, going to the park, going to the YMCA.
I woke up in the middle of the night. I opened the door to my kids' room, and my daughter's bed was on fire. We had nothing. Everyone just kept seeing us kind of like we weren't worth anything, and nobody wanted to help. It was just horrible. For so long, I was just kind of trapped. Like I couldn't do anything. I couldn't pick myself up no matter how much I tried.
The darkest part of my life in that was not being able to sleep at night without the light or the TV on, because I felt very unsafe. I would be staying in motels, and there would be a lot of people, and because of past situations of things happening to me in the past, I felt very unsafe, and I used to worry. I didn't like being there.
This is the pain and trauma and anxiety that families carry into Door of Hope. And so for those families carrying that pain, I want you to imagine with me the gift of an extreme shelter makeover. Imagine the difference it would make to walk through the doors of this space versus this space. How does your body respond to that difference? How does your brain or your heart respond to that difference? The choice of color, furniture, artwork, lighting is about so much more than design. It is about creating spaces for healing, because we are the product of our environment. And tonight, we want to unleash the healing power of intentionally designed yet affordable space through this extreme shelter makeover. Our clients are currently experiencing that healing power at our new community center. We opened it up just last December because we had grown so much. We needed a place to first welcome and interview families who might move into our shelters. We needed a place to provide case management, therapy, and classes to our homelessness prevention clients and alumni. And so some of our faithful foundation partners rallied around us to generously provide the funding for this space. And even though it's an office, we designed this space to feel like a home. Colors, woods, plants, inspiring artwork. The choices we made at this center are about so much more than design. They promote healing. We recognize that the physical environment affects identity, worth, dignity, a sense of safety. And it's that kind of healing environment we want to bring to our shelters. Now, there's actual brain science behind this concept, and it's described really well in a TED Talk on trauma-informed design. So we're going to listen to that now.
Homelessness is defined as sleeping in places not meant for human habitation. Most people without homes either sleep outside, in their cars, or in homeless shelters. I think we can all agree that sleeping outside or in your car are not places meant for human habitation. But I'm going to argue that most of our traditional homeless shelters are also not places meant for human habitation. Brain research shows us that the kinds of shelters most of our communities have actually make it harder for the people who stay there to get out of homelessness. To understand why this is, let's take a look at some brain science, which helps us understand what goes on in the brain when someone experiences something as stressful as homelessness. You see, when anyone's brain is exposed to any stress, the brain releases chemicals to help us get through that stress. If it's positive, motivating stress like buying a new home or finals week at school, the brain releases chemicals that promote emotional regulation, critical thinking, and logical thought, all very good things that get you through stress. But when it's negative stress, the brain releases different chemicals that put you into what I call survival mode, because it focuses on making sure you just survive whatever stress you're confronted with. When you're in survival mode, the chemical reaction turns off your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that's responsible for all of our uniquely human brain functions. Things like critical thinking and comprehension, logic and rationality. You don't have these things available to you in survival mode because your prefrontal cortex is unplugged and offline. Even if you tried really hard, this chemical reaction would prevent you from bringing it back online. You're left in survival mode, the fight, flight, or freeze system that leaves you on high alert, ready for danger. Survival mode is really helpful, say when you're in the wild and you see a lion. Survival mode helps you get ready to fight that lion or run away from that lion to protect yourself and save your life. But survival mode is also triggered in response to stress like domestic violence and homelessness. Losing your home causes you to have the same brain reaction that confronting a lion in the wild does. And when you experience homelessness for several weeks, months, or even years, your brain stays in survival mode that whole time. I'm here to share there's a better way to shelter. There's a way to provide shelter that actually helps people get out of survival mode and back into the thinking parts of their brain. And what if I told you the key to getting people out of survival mode was in the walls and the ceiling? That's right, the built environment, the architecture and design of a place can literally change the chemical reaction in the brain, helping you to think logically and understand the world again. That way, you can actually understand and follow the shelter rules. You can benefit from the services that shelter wants to provide, and you can make the kinds of change you want to see in your life. A better way to shelter. Trauma-informed shelters are beautiful places that make you feel good when you walk in. They build dignity and restore power. They have room for flexible spaces where tots, teens, pets, and adults can all be themselves. The trauma-informed design features the color palette of the ocean, blues, greens, and turquoises with little color contrast. We feature round forms and curved spaces that bring a sense of uplift and positivity. There's privacy and solitude if desired, but there's also space to be in community and build relationships. There's a strong sense of abundance and a connection to nature through natural plants, woods, and natural materials. These design elements create an environment where just by being in the physical shelter building, people start to have more access to the logical thinking part of their brain. So what if we stopped designing shelters as rows of cots on the floor, which we know put people in survival mode and lead to negative health outcomes and can eventually result in death, and started designing shelters using trauma-informed design and architecture?
So as the speaker said, there is a better way to shelter, and that's what this extreme makeover is all about. Now, the good news is that Door of Hope is not that far off from this vision of trauma-informed design. We are already drastically different, intentionally so, than the warehouse shelters you just heard described. We're located in beautiful old homes. We have outdoor yards and natural light. We have private bedrooms for each family. We have therapy rooms and children's spaces. So all the right ingredients are there. But here's the challenge we really need to overcome. Those beautiful homes have taken a real beating over the years, and we want to do better for the families we serve. We have 4 extremely old buildings. And so when we get capital grants from foundation partners, we've used them for practical things like new roofing, siding, solar, plumbing. We relied on community and church groups to give individual rooms a makeover when they could. And we certainly valued those small improvements, but they've been a little inconsistent, often refurnishing rooms with mismatched furniture or low-cost furniture that just doesn't stand up to the wear and tear of multiple families. And so we were already in need of a shelter makeover. And then COVID hit. And families used that furniture twice as often because they were home more often. Volunteer groups no longer came in to spruce up the place and give rooms a new coat of paint or change the furniture. And so now we are in need of an extreme shelter makeover. And so to share with you more about that vision, I'm going to hand it over to our program director, Regina Dupree.
Hi, everyone. I'm Regina Dupree, and I'm in the backyard of the Los Robles site. And I get the privilege of working with 34 families, about 130 individuals who live at Door of Hope's 4 transitional homes. And we are super excited to have the opportunity to turn our shelters into healing spaces through trauma-informed design. I want to talk you through some big plans that are underway. And as I do that, I want you to know 2 things. One, every choice was created to promote a sense of calm, healing, and safety. And 2, every item was chosen for its durability and affordability. There are no frivolous items here. They're simply items we already needed, and we're being more intentional to ensure that they are in line with trauma-informed design. So come on in.
Welcome to Los Robles. I'm Erin, the case manager at our Los Robles site. Here we serve 7 families who are either 2-parent families, single fathers, or single mothers. At Los Robles, we're able to accommodate up to 33 individuals.
Welcome to Bravo. I'm Natalie, our program manager here at Bravo, and we serve 14 moms and their kids who lost their housing when they fled domestic violence. At Bravo, we can accommodate 58 individuals.
Welcome to Villa. I'm Gerardo, the Door of Hope Youth Coordinator, and I work with our teams across all of our sites. Here at Villa, we house 5 single moms and their children. We can accommodate up to 15 individuals.
Welcome to CASA, Door of Hope's newest transitional shelter. I'm Tatiana, the CASA case manager, and I get to work with 8 moms who are all enrolled in educational programs as a pathway out of homelessness and domestic violence. At CASA, we can accommodate up to 27 individuals.
We're starting off this project here at the Los Robles site, and I'm most excited about the work that's being done here because it will allow us to serve 2 new families, which means we will move from serving 34 families to 36 families. And we're doing that by turning offices that were here but are now at the community center into 2 new residential units. We're also adding new bathrooms so that each family gets their own private bathroom. We're putting new flooring in throughout, and nearly all the construction and renovation of that space is funded through the Amason Foundation. But after those new shelter units and bathrooms are created, we want to paint and refurnish all 4 of our shelters. And that's where you come in. You can help us decorate the living and dining rooms so that we can create the most inviting space possible for meals, community, and life skill classes. That means new couches, end tables, dining room chairs and tables, arts, and plants. You can redecorate and repaint all of our bedrooms to create more comforting homes for our families. That means new bunk beds, mattresses, bedding, art, plants, and lamps. You can help us create new therapy offices where our clients heal. That means new couches, chairs, art, cozy lamps, and inspiring plants. You can create new children's space
where kids can start to dream. That means new furniture, toys, painting, and rugs. And finally, you can help us re-landscape 2 of our lawns with new plants and prayer benches to create an outdoor sanctuary for families living there. So that's the vision we're inviting you to join us in. A better way to shelter, a better way to heal, and a better way towards permanent housing using principles of trauma-informed design.
So that's the nuts and bolts of this project. And you saw a lot of price tags attached to that vision. So just as a reminder, all the items we've chosen have been selected both for their durability and affordability. These are items that we needed to replace anyway. And so we are just going one step beyond to using the principles of trauma-informed design as we do that. I do want to let you know that to keep costs low on this project, we have some really generous sponsors. IJ Rager Flooring Company has donated and installed free flooring at 2 of our homes. Da Vinci, a brand of $1 Million Baby, has donated chairs and dressers for one of our homes. An anonymous company has gifted us with free wall painting at 2 of our homes. And ESCO, Century, BTG Advisors, and Outlook Newspaper are all financial partners in this endeavor. So it truly takes a village, and we're so grateful for those partners keeping our costs low, because their support will help us stretch and multiply the impact of your support in this endeavor. And this project is about so much more than the practical items and home improvements you just heard described. This project is a very tangible way that families can experience the meaning of love and security and home. They will be greeted by artwork with inspiring scripture verses as they come in. They will be greeted by a loving staff who is living out that scripture in very tangible ways. And then they will find rest in a space that matches the kind of hope and peace and love that Door of Hope is all about. In other words, for every room we decorate, there is a family whose life will be forever changed by walking through those doors. Families like Robin's. Let's hear her story.
I had a great life. Married. I had my son. My older 2 children were going off into college, and one went into the Marine Corps. So it was just my younger child and myself and my husband, and it was wonderful. I had my home-based daycare. Things were going well, but when you're in a domestic violence situation, things are horrible. Worse very quickly. They can get really, really bad. So all of that started to transpire, and it got to a point where I needed to leave, and I needed a safe place to go. And that's how my journey began with my younger son. I think I called 211, and they gave me a list of places that were shelters. And I learned a lot. There's winter shelters. There's all kind of different things. There's places for that house you really quick, but there's a special place for domestic violence. But for me, at that time, most of the shelters were full. And this particular shelter, they didn't put you in an apartment or you had one stable place to stay. You would move from church to church nightly. And you had to be there at a certain time or else you weren't let in. And if you didn't have anywhere to go, like on a Saturday or Sunday all day, you would wait around and until they opened the facilities for you to go at night to sleep. It was really hard. It was very challenging. And then when you got there, there were times that, you weren't welcomed or the way you would have expected being homeless. You thought there would be a little bit more compassion. And I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was the facility, like over where the place that we were, and he referred me to Door Hope. So I called Door Hope, and I got an interview. I came in, and Let me tell you, okay? I know every time I tell this story or someone asks me how was it, it's almost unbelievable that, because I didn't know homelessness could look like this. You get to Door Hope, you meet wonderful, and I have to say it, believers. And that's what I met. I walked home. I drove to my home. And it's a domestic violence shelter that I walked to. And I was handed keys to an apartment, fully furnished. Refrigerator, food, 2 beds, couch, gift cards for necessities, essentials, things that you need. I walked into life. After being at the other shelter, okay, Door Hope was a godsend. When I opened the door to the apartment with the key that I only possessed for my son and me, as I said to people before, I just laid on the floor and did the angel wings. It just felt so good. It was just for me. And there was no other questions asked, you know, and it was, you're home now. We'll talk later. You'll have a case manager and we'll work from there.
Well, Robin has come a long way since she described that moment walking into Door of Hope, and she actually joined us tonight. So you'll get a chance to ask questions if you want at the end. But Robin, I'm gonna just start with 2 questions right now. What has happened since that moment you were doing snow angel wings on Door of Hope's living room floor?
So when with my case manager, I went on to receive my CNA certificate that would increase my earnings. I'm very grateful for that because I was able to move into my own apartment and financially be secure. I also at Door Hope, I took financial literacy classes that helped me manage my money and my finances, helped me stay on my feet and maintain housing until now. Same apartment, same place with my son and I. Over time, I decided, you know, I need to give back. And I wanted the journey to give back and be of help and of service. I ended up back at Door Hope as a volunteer, alumni volunteer. And then I went into an internship. And from there, I became a permanent employee of Door and Hope as a child advocate. Yeah.
We are very excited that you just joined us on staff. So Robin, some might think about your great relief, you know, walking into Door of Hope already different than the shelter experience you had had. And they might ask, well, what do they need this extreme shelter makeover for? Why do they need our support? What would you say to that?
Well, I was very thankful that Door Hope was different from all the other shelters. But honestly, it looks the same as it did when I was there over 10 years ago. I think of now working at Door Hope, you know, I go into the homes and I see furniture that was probably the same furniture that was there when I was there. And actually, I think it is. And I think of all the families who have come through throughout the years, the 10 years since I've been there, and how Door Hope could use a true makeover. It's gotten a little bit run down, well, quite a bit. The furniture, yeah, I think it's the same. And from years ago, and I think that it would make a big difference for the families to have an upgraded housing for homelessness. And it'll make it, you know, for me, I think, honestly, just coming to the community center now, knowing what this looks like versus the houses, it shows a big difference in what it could be what Door Hope could look like now. The community center here for Door Hope is refreshing, and it's nice, it's open, it's very clean, and it would be nice to see the homes have that same feel, that same upgrade from when I lived there before.
Well, thank you, Robin, and thanks for being one of our many alumni who give back. It means a lot. Well, friends, you can ask Robin questions at the end, but now is the time for me to ask for your partnership so that Door of Hope can serve more families like Robin's, because your gift tonight will create an environment where families can heal from their trauma and find a path to long-term housing. And so there are two ways we want to invite you to join in this extreme shelter makeover. The first is by providing an extreme room makeover. And that means $10,000 would provide a new living room and dining room. That's where life skills are learned and meals are eaten. $5,000 would provide a new bedroom where families are restored. And the second way is by providing an extreme furniture makeover. $1,000 would provide a comfortable and durable couch. $500 would provide a credenza or end table set for our living rooms. And $100 would provide an inspiring piece of artwork that we're going to put throughout our shelters. And before you make a gift tonight, I have two really exciting announcements to make. The first is that any gift you make toward our $250,000 goal will be matched dollar for dollar thanks to a $100,000 matching challenge. And so that means your gift tonight will go twice as far. Second, we want you to be a permanent part of this extreme shelter makeover. And there are two different ways that you can do that. For any gift, $5,000 or higher, you can name a door after a loved one or your family with a memorial plaque, just like this. And then for any gift of $1,000 or above, we will let you choose a favorite scripture verse or an inspirational quote to be incorporated into the artwork on our walls. So please make your gift tonight. We can't wait to show you before and after pictures that are the result of your efforts tonight. You'll be invited to a shelter unveiling later in the year if you participate in this campaign. And please know that anything raised above our goal is going to be pumped right into the vital and life-changing services that take place in these healing spaces that you will make possible tonight.